Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 10, which is entitled Bhagavatam is the Answer to All Questions. Quite a profound title there. Texts 14 and 15 and 16, what we're doing this morning. So without further ado, we start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramhans Supreme Magic Acharya Stotra Satsishri Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramhans Supreme Magic Acharya Stotra Satsishri Maharaj Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Nama Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से द्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Avanda Mathura Dham ki, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada. Igor Kalami Shakti Bhakti Narayana Namaste Chanarunche Vam Narutamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gadirayat Nashta Praeswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, beginning with text 14. When we get to text 16, then anyone who feels inclined to chant the shloka can do that also. Avidevam atadhyatmahum adibhutam iti prabhu atekam purusham viryam tveda vidyata tachrinu. Word for word, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Adidevam, the controlling deities. Ata, now. Adhyatmam, the controlled entities. Adibhutam, the material bodies. Iti, thus. Prabhu, the Lord. Atha, in this way. Ekam, one only. Paurusham, of his lordship. Viryam, potency. Tridham, in three. Abhidyata, divided. Tat, that. Shrinu, just hear from me. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Just hear from me how the potency of His Lordship divides one into three, called the controlling deities, the controlled deities, and the material bodies, in the manner mentioned above. Text 15. Antasharira akashat purushasya vicheshtata ojasaho balam jagye tata prano mahan asu. Word for word translation. Antasarire, within the body. Akashat, from the sky. Purushasya, of Mahavishnu. Vicheshtata, while so trying or willing. Oja, the energy of the senses. Saha, mental force. Balam, bodily strength. Jagye, generated. Tata, thereafter. Prana, the living force. Mahan Asu, the fountainhead of everyone's life. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. Text 16, this is the text that after I finish, if you would like to chant, you can chant that shloka also. Anuprananti yam prana, pranantam sarvajantushu, apanantam apananti, naradevam ivanuga, anuprananti yam prana, pranantam sarvajantushu, apanantam apananti, naradevam ivanuga, Anuprananti yam prana, pranantam sarvajantushu, apanantam apananti, naradevam ivanuga. Hare Krishna.
If
Please
someone
chant.
can chant, please, because I'm driving.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Anu
Krishna.
prananti yam pranaha pranantam sarvajanantushu apanantam pananti nardeva mivanukaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare
One
Krishna.
person.
Anuprananti yam pranantam sarvajantusu apanantam apananti naradeva ivanuga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. Okay, next person.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
अनुप्राणन्ति यं प्राणा प्राणन्तं सर्वजन्तुषु अपानन्तम् अपानन्ति नरदेवम् इवानुगा. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we'll do word for word now. Anuprananti. Following the living symptoms. Yam, whom. Prana, senses. Pranantam, endeavoring. Savajantushu, in all living entities. In all living entities. Apanantam, stop endeavoring. Apananti, all others stop. Naradevam, a king. Eva, like. Anuga, the followers. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As the followers of a king follow their Lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The individual living entities are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusha. No one has independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent effulgence. Each and every electrical instrument depends fully on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. Water depends on the clouds. The clouds depend on the sun. The sun depends on creation, and the creation depends on the movement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. Oma Gnati Mirandisya, Gyana Ganashalakaya, Chakshu Umbilitam Jena Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitam Jena Bhutane Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutane Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Bani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatyarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurati Se Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Siva Shari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we'll go back to the English translation for text 14. Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling deities, the controlled entities, and the material bodies in the manner mentioned above. Text 15. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. Text 16. As the followers of a king follow their Lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move, and when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. Hare Krishna. So who is speaking? The answer is Sukadeva Goswami, describing the material creation, where it starts from. We know, or if you don't know, at least you're going to hear, that the five gross senses, sometimes the word senses are used, but the five gross parts of creation are earth, water, fire, air, and sky. So in the beginning of this, Shukadeva Goswami is describing the creation, and he talks first about what the sky generates. That's in text 15, but he says now, just hear from me in text 14. Hear from me, meaning you, Maharaj Pariksit, hear from me, Shukadeva Goswami, about how the potency of the Lord, the energy of the Lord is divided into three. The controlling entities, which means the demigods. The controlled entities, that's us, and every one of the those occupying the 8,400,000 bodies, some of them, because the rest are actually occupied by the demigods themselves. And then the material bodies. Just hear from me how the potency of the Lord divides into three like that, in the manner mentioned above. So this is what, and then he starts talking about the first of the five gross elements, the sky, sometimes called ether, but it's the sky. Sometimes also space is used. It's all interchanged like that, depending on the context of which the person that's speaking is describing. So sky, space, ether, sometimes all used there. But in this case, sky from which sound comes. But he also talks about the sky situated within the transcendental body of Mahavishnu, the first Vishnu for creation, sense energy, the senses, the energy for the senses, mental force for the subtle body, and bodily strength, the strength for the material body. They are all generated. So that is the total living force of the person or the living entity, the material living entity. So that's the first thing he describes. Now in this text, the following text, text 16, then he gives an analogy about the energy of the Lord. Just like the followers of a king follow that Lord. Similarly, when the total energy is in motion, then all other living entities move. Why does he say when energy is in motion? Well, sometimes it's not in motion and sometimes it is. When the energy is not in motion, it is actually in the body of Mahavishnu. At that time, or that period when he breathes in, all the universes go into his body, and then everything is in a dormant state. Mm. So the total energy is not in motion at that time. And this is all by his will, because he's the one, Mahavishnu is the one that breathes. So when he breathes in or out, then things happen. So everything depends on him. He also is the one that establishes time. Material time, that is. So when the total energy stops endeavoring by his own will, stops, then all other living entities stop sensual activities. Now, some people may wonder why sensual is there. Well, for the most part, sensual means mode of passion. And this is very much the way living entities live their lives in the material world. It's all about trying to produce something. Material world is set up that way. In the spiritual world, everything is supplied. Even by a person's will, things can be given. Just by a person not even endeavoring, wishing for it, it will come. That's the spiritual world. But here in the material world, yes, you can get, but you have to endeavor for it. You have to work for it. And working is mostly in the mode of passion. We say mode of passion because most people are like that. They want to be well off, and they endeavor to try to get well off. And that is the subtle aspect of the sexual energy. That's why the word sensual is there. That's the subtle aspect of the sensual. Gross sex is sexual intercourse. That we know. But to endeavor, power, wanting power, all of that is in the subtle aspect of the same energy. Therefore, it's appropriate that Shukadeva Goswami said, when the total energy stops endeavoring, everything goes inside his body of Mahavishnu, then living entities also stop their passionate way of doing things, sensual activities. So in the purport, the Prabhupada says, individual entities are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusha. The Supreme Purusha now is the incarnation of Krishna, Mahavishnu. So the sequence of incarnations start with the Supreme. The most has been the one that has all attributes, full, 100%, and that is Lord Sri Krishna. So when he expands, then the first plenary expansion comes, and that is Balaram. Balarama actually expands to 4 forms called the Chaturvyuha. Vasudev, Anirudh, Sankarshan, and Pradyumna. Now, Lord Sankarshan is quite, but lack of better word, let me see. He's very much a part of how the material world comes to be. But Lord Balaram, we just talked about, it also expands to what we know as Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. That's from Balaram. Balaram is the plenary, the first expansion of Krishna. So from the Chaturvyuha, they expand to Narayan, one Narayan per planet. Per universe in the material world. Narayan expands to the second Chaturvyuha. Vasudev, Anirudh, Sankarshan, and Pradyumna. Now, the Sankarshan of this second set of 4 forms of the Lord, of the incarnations of the Lord, sometimes it's called Mahasankarshan, because it is through him that Mahavishnu comes to be. Mahavishnu, from which all the universes come out of, and time gets established. So that's the way in which things are set up. And of course, from Mahavishnu, then there is another Vishnu expansion which is now, and he is responsible for taking care of each universe. He also is the one from whom Lord Brahma comes, and he also is the one that teaches Lord Brahma how to create the different varieties, planets, demigods, other living entities, and empowering them to go on with creation. So in that sense, Lord Brahma is the second creator. And the living entities, all living entities based on their level of intelligence, can also take the material energy and fashion something out of it for whatever their needs are or whatever convenience they want. And that's, the ones that have done it the most are the ones supposedly in this planet of the universe, this particular planet, which is a small planet, called the advanced country, because they're able to use the material energy to generate many things that they live for their convenience. In the United States at this time being the topmost one in this particular planet in terms of that ability. Now, so Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy to show that Krishna is the cause of all causes. Every electrical instrument depends on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. So why do you go from powerhouse, electricity, water? Well, there's a connection, which even people still use. They make a dam, they construct a wall in water so that allowing the water to rise to a certain height based on the wall. And then they poke holes in the wall so that the water now comes through those holes. And since the water level is high, so it comes through those holes and it comes down. That's like they're creating an artificial waterfall, create down. And then they have a wheel stuck to the end as the water is coming. The water turns the wheel, and that wheel is called a turbine. And then from magnets that are inside this, electricity is generated. So that's the connection between water and electricity. But okay, so through water you get, it's called hydroelectric power. Hydro means water. But where does the water come from? Well, the water is from the water that's already on the planet, but it has to be generated in such a way that it would fall in different places so we can use it around the planet. So the sun does that. So the water is actually vaporized from the oceans and it goes up as clouds. But since the wind is there, then the clouds can move to different locations. And then when the clouds release the water, now it falls in different places. So you don't see a dam in the ocean. You see a dam in a river, a different place from the ocean. So the water then falls, and then of course, if that particular area they've created a dam, or sometimes even a number of dams, then just like we described earlier, you can actually have the water height go up behind that dam, and then when they holes in there, they allow the water to come through and fall and turn the turbine, and we get electricity. Now, so water depends on the clouds, and the clouds depend on the sun. The sun evaporating the water in the ocean. Much of what the clouds form is not water from different places, but particularly the ocean, because that's where those are giant bodies of water. And where's the sun from? That's from the creation of the Lord. And so the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate cause. Without him creating the sun and all these other ingredients, we couldn't get what we just described to happen. So the Lord has total control over everything. Everything is the Lord's energy. We may have the opportunity to fashion something different based on nature, but the Lord is the one that generates nature. Sometimes it's not a direct creation of nature. It's a situation where Lord Brahma gets taught to do that. But now sometimes the Brahma situation, we'll talk about it a little bit. Lord Brahma, I said Brahma situation. Brahma is a post, just like Indra is a post. Just like president is a post. So Brahma is a post. And there are two ways, according to what the Shastra explains, that Lord Brahma, personality can be Lord Brahma. One, someone who falls from the spiritual world, depending on what their desires are, that they wanted to be their own controllers rather than be subject to serving Krishna. A person wants their own control. So then they have to leave the material world, the spiritual world, because Krishna is in full control and you can't take his position. Now, when an entity is coming from the spiritual world, depending on what he wants, he can be given the position of Brahma. That's one way. Now, the other way is we have 78%, we're talking about it the other day, of Krishna's attributes. 78%, the living entities like us, we have 78% of the Lord's attributes in minute quantity. It is said again in the Shastra that when someone lives in the mode of goodness and definitely has these attributes and lives well within them for 100 lifetimes, they can be promoted to Lord Brahma's position, Lord Brahma's post. They can occupy that. So one is from a spiritual world, and also one who is in the material world, who begins to live a better life. And then, of course, they can go, if they have done 100 lifetimes, with these 78 attributes, not doing motor passion or motor ignorance stuff, then they can be promoted to handle that post of Lord Brahma. Now, I hope by saying that, even though we've described this, that people won't be, the devotees listening won't be inclined to try to be Lord Brahma, because it's actually a waste of time. For what we know now, why be Lord Brahma and stay in the material world for what? 311 trillion years and 40 billion years, while just living 100 years, or maybe even less than that, and going by Lord Chaitanya's program of chanting Hare Krishna mantra, serving, chanting, hearing, and not being offensive. You can go directly to the spiritual world. Lord Brahma, the Lord Brahma we have now, has done so much to serve the Lord that his position is, his situation is that when he leaves his body, he's not going to go back into the body of Mahavishnu. He's going to go to the spiritual world. This Lord Brahma is going to go to the spiritual. The Lord Brahma of this planet will go to the spiritual world. The Lord Shiva of this planet will also go to the spiritual world, both of them. Lord Shiva's situation is that when Lord Brahma is getting ready to leave the body, the whole universe has to be annihilated. So he will do that. And then he will also go to the spiritual world. So that's the situation as part of the creation and what's going to happen later on in the future, as described in the scriptures. So the Lord has total control of everything. So all activities of the Lord are according to his will. We don't determine when the Lord breathes in or breathes out. Even for our own selves, we can breathe in and breathe out the air based on how we want to breathe out. The frequency is controlled by us. How fast or how slow we breathe is controlled by us. The Lord is the one that has supreme control over everything. So he also breathes based on how he wants or the rate at which he wants to breathe. So when the Lord breathes out, we're talking about the Lord's breath because the universes come out of his pores when he breathes out. They go back into his body when he breathes in. So that's very much determined by his own will. Now, so all activities of the Lord, Krishna does everything by his will, and expansions also do based on their will, even though there are some activities that they're involved in, like Mahavishnu is involved in the creation of the world. Krishna doesn't have any activities at all. Krishna is totally free to do it, so he's always having fun. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult for our tiny brains to understand the extent of the supremacy of Krishna. That is actually an important point because some things will happen, we may ask questions, but a good bit of the creation, even from the material standpoint, is over our heads in terms of how things are done. Mm-hmm. We have very blunt instruments. There's not much precision and there's not much capability, even of the scientific instruments that we produce at this point in this earth. Mm-hmm. So it only takes those who know, that is, especially those from the spiritual world who've come, like Srila Prabhupada did, and the previous acharyas in our line, they can describe how things are like. Mm-hmm. Spiritual masters sometimes describe, and spiritual masters sometimes, and it's very rare, they may reveal, especially to a person from the spiritual world, they may reveal some parts of what's been talked about in the Shastra to certain devotees. We cannot push a spiritual master to do that for you necessarily. Mm-hmm. But there are some devotees that have had visions of some of the things that are talked about in the Shastra. Even though they are conditioned souls, but the spiritual master does that, then that means there is a particular thing that they want that disciple to do, and it is necessary to show a few things about what's talked about in the Shastra in reality. So then the person's, put down in a night and the subtle body is active, and then the spiritual master may show a few things. It has happened to some devotees, but we won't mention any names at this point. Now, we have to follow the leader. This is our life, devotee life, and our leader is Krishna. Because following him brings happiness. Following him brings peace. From peace comes happiness. And there's a peace formula, which is in chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, which we will get to. So he also, Krishna, has set up spiritual mastership, Guru, as a position, and the Guru is his representative. And through him, this is all by his will. That's why we said Krishna does all activities according to his will. So through Guru, those who want to return can return to Godhead through Guru. But the condition is we have to serve Guru. We have to definitely have questions for Guru to answer so we have a better sense of how things are and what our responsibilities are. We have to serve him and serve him even menially. That's what the Lord looks at. Menial service is king of all the services. Menial service is king because we say king means it is the best of all the services. Because menial service is the one that when a person does that enthusiastically, it accesses humility. A person can be more humble the more they do menial service. Because sometimes there are devotees who say, this is below me, I'm not going to sweep the temple. I'm cut out to be on the altar for the deities. I'm cut out to be a pujari. Therefore, these are the things I'm not going to do. The pujari work is there. But Srila Prabhupada said this about the spiritual world. Those in the spiritual world do not see any service as better than other services. That never happens. Everything is on the absolute platform. The Lord himself is absolute. So all services are looked at the same way. Our intention is what matters. And services, really, devotion services, very, very, very much connects to our intention. We should never do services just so we can show how advanced we are. We should never do services to try to show others that we are better than them. We should never do services just so people will just look up to us. That is not how service is supposed to be approached. And in fact, Krishna, if we act like that, Krishna just might give us the mercy by smashing us. We use the term smash, means that we will be given some difficulty just to teach us a lesson, given difficulty by Krishna. Guru is not an ordinary person. He may look like us because Krishna also comes 2 hands, 2 legs, looking like everybody. But Guru is Krishna's representative. Therefore, there are things that Krishna allows Guru to do that other devotees cannot do. Krishna communicates with Guru. And from what the communication is, then the Guru advises us on what to do. So he's a representative. It's just like the president of a country. Then in another country, there's an ambassador. The ambassador is the representative of the president and the representative of that country, of that particular country. So Guru is like that. It's an ambassador. And the temples are like embassies for the spiritual world. So this is how things are set up. So spiritual masters is for conditioned souls who want to return to Godhead. And Krishna guides the bona fide spiritual master on how to instruct his disciple. Srila Prabhupada has actually revealed that all of the books that he wrote, and there were 84 of them, according to Dhanavir Goswami told him, this is a disciple of his who's also a guru. Srila Prabhupada wrote 84 books. The purpose in these books, Srila Prabhupada himself said, were dictated to him by Krishna. So the purpose of Srila Prabhupada is also the word of God. That's why they are as effective as they are. So it's only through Krishna's protection that we can ever be peaceful, and therefore from peace become happy. And Krishna has described how to achieve peace. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, Kama Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, the very last text for that chapter, it's text 28, is the formula to achieve peace. Bhoktaram yagyata pasam sava loka maheshwara. Suhidam sava bhutanam gyatva mam santim vishchiti. The translation is that a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, knowing me to be the supreme lord of all planets and the demigods, which are the ones that are controlling, given the right to control different aspects of the creation, and knowing me to be the benefactor and the well-wisher of all living entities. The person that knows that, fully conscious of Krishna, that person attains peace from the troubles given by material miseries. They obtain peace from it. They are able to withdraw mentally, that is, not allowing material miseries to affect them. A person in full consciousness of me. One, that understanding that Krishna is the beneficiary, the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. What does that mean? When we do any sacrifice, when we do any austerity, we should have Krishna in mind, that Krishna, I am doing this for you. Hmm? That's what will make our gurus happy with us when we have the mentality that the service is to please Krishna. Those in the spiritual world, that's what they do. They please Krishna's senses. So much so that Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, they wouldn't even let Krishna eat by himself. They would actually feed Krishna. There's that much love. Everybody wants some way to do a service. Sometimes when Krishna, this is some Brihad Bhavatamrita, what I'm going to say next, that Krishna is to take a bath. The gopis are there and they say, no, we will in fact wash Krishna. Now, does one gopi take whatever cloth they're going to use and water to wash Krishna? No, the gopis all want to do it. So every gopi takes a part, maybe a part of like the arm of Krishna, the top part, and another one is on one side, another one, maybe 5, 6 gopis on the left arm, 5, 6 gopis on the right arm, and they all want to serve, and they're not eager to serve. Eagerness in devotional service is very, very important. Sometimes we use the word enthusiasm. The same thing, eagerness. Those in the spiritual world not only serve the Lord, but they're very eager to serve the Lord. And when the Lord is happy, then they are happy. But when he serves back, because Krishna does that, he loves back. When they love him, he loves back. So there's that wonderful interchange that goes on in the spiritual world all of the time. There is also interchange between the living entities in other Vaikuntha planets. What I describe is particularly Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is. But there's also a wonderful relationship that goes on, servant and master, between Lord Narayan and those who are in the Vaikuntha planets, different from Goloka Vrindavan. The relationship there is wonderful. I know Srila Prabhupada is getting us to go to the place where there's more of a variety of relationships to the Lord, true enough. But sometimes we have to speak about the other Vaikuntha planets. There is, and the Gopakumara, again, this is from Brihad Bhavatamrita. He visited the planets, went to even Lord Ram's planet. So he stopped in very different places before he wound up at Goloka Vrindavan. So there's description of what he saw. The denizens, those who are in the Vaikuntha planets, they are four-handed. 4 hands, 2 legs, but 4 hands. Just like Lord Narayan, four-handed. So their form is like the Lord's form. They also have the Lord just basically just lets them have practically all of the wealth. They have wealth like the Lord. Now, each person has access to wealth. Access to wealth compared to the kind of wealth in a universe in the material world. That much wealth. Not the wealth of a planet or part of the wealth of a planet like the richest people have part of the wealth of the planet. No. They have access to the wealth that's found in a universe, like our material universe. That's the comparison that was made in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Fabulously wealthy, every one of them. And then they have their own relationships, and then they serve the Lord. But the one that serves the Lord the most is his own consort, Lakshmi, who's always with the Lord. So that's a little bit of what goes on in the Vaikuntha planets. They are very big, very, very, very big, way bigger than even the universes we have here. And we call the universes big. Actually, they're not anywhere near as big as the Vaikuntha planets. But we see them as big because we have tiny bodies. We are considered, even these bodies that we have now, in the overall scheme of things, in the spiritual world, it's even hard to see us. We are like really tiny specks. But we call ourselves, being in these kind of bodies, we think that we are supreme or something. Like the way the Mayavadis think. So the world and the creation world is such that, just like we talked about, peace can be attained by understanding that the Krishna is the supreme predominator of all living entities, but he's also a well-wisher, like that. So in Bhagavad Gita 529, chapter 5, text 29, Srila Prabhupada describes this statement that the person who is the supreme, who understands that the Lord is the benefactor of all sacrifices and austerities, therefore we should do that for him. Think that we are serving the Lord senses to make the Lord happy with us when we do service. That the Supreme Lord is the controller of all the planets and the demigods. And he's also a well-wisher. A loving person is a well-wisher of all living entities, not just human beings, all living entities in the material world. That person attains peace. This is the peace formula. So in that purpose, the Prabhupada is saying, we are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. Not true? Definitely, it is true. After mid-1940s, when the Second World War was over, then what happened? This planet decided to create United Nations so they can talk their way out of disputes before it becomes a whole world war. That's why it was established. People want peace. Nations want peace. But they don't know the formula for peace. The greatest peace formula is simply this, that Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. So to attain peace, sacrifice everything for Krishna. This is what it boils down to. Everybody should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord. Because he is the topmost proprietor for all planets and also the demigods. He's the controller of demigods. Nobody is at his level. Definitely nobody is greater than him. He's greater than the greatest of the demigods. He's greater than Lord Shiva. He's greater than Lord Brahma. Those two are the greatest of the demigods. But when people get caught up by Maya under the spell of illusion, we want to be lords of all that we survey. Srila Prabhupada describes the reason that wars happen here in this material world. People don't understand who really owns everything on this planet. They don't understand who owns the planet. They know about God, but they don't make a real heartfelt connection to the Lord as the controller and the creator of this. Let's talk about this one earth, of this planet only. He's the creator of everything, but just this one planet, because that's what we used to, where we live. So living entities are trying to be lords. And so Srila Prabhupada describes as there is no king. Everybody thinks they are king, and then they fight, which is exactly how wars come. Everybody's positioning themselves. I want to be controlling here. This person says, I want to be controlling here. And then there's a dispute about the place they want to control. And what happens? They start fighting because they want to fight, and the person that wins gets to control. But nobody is realizing that the real controller is Krishna himself. And so there's going to be trouble and misunderstanding and problems created by man, ultimately wars, until people begin to understand nothing belongs to anybody. Everything belongs to the Lord. And when we begin to understand that, then peace can come. So the Lord is master of material nature, and all the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. We cannot do anything outside mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. And those are set up by the Lord. So unless one understands these bare facts that we talked about, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either nationally or individually. Hmm? So this is what Krishna consciousness is about. To understand that Krishna is a supreme predominator. We cannot know everything about Krishna because Krishna is unlimited. In every aspect of his energies, it's all unlimited. But at least we should know. And Srila Prabhupada says this, I'm just repeating what this much we should know, that Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme controller. And all living entities, including even the great demigods, are his subordinates. Only then, a person that believes that fully and lives the life based on that belief, then they can get peace. So we have to work for Krishna. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with a complete knowledge that the Lord is the predominator. When we work that way, then that work is none different from transcendental knowledge. Because then we are doing work with the proper understanding about the Lord's position and our position and how we're going to be happy. We should work for the Lord. So that is the way in which things are supposed to go if we want peace, and from peace, happiness. The Krishna consciousness brings all of us into spiritual life while within this jurisdiction of matter, while we're here. But how we use it, that depends on our own consciousness. Krishna is not forcing anyone. So when someone is not that excited, they think that they've been in Krishna consciousness for a while and they think that things are not moving forward. They cannot question Krishna. They have to question their own selves. See, the Lord is in the heart. So everything that we do, he knows what's going on. And he says, Ye atamapapadantitam sateva bhajami aham. The extent to which we surrender, he rewards accordingly. And so when we're not moving forward, then there's something about our spiritual life that we need to be pay attention to. Sometimes we can inquire. That's why asking questions is so good. I asked at that time in 1995 to 97, I was actually living in the same building that my spiritual master was living. So we were serving him and training myself. And I went to him several times with questions. And he was very kind to me. Sometimes he's doing something, he's reading. Most of the time I go to his room, he's reading. But if I offer obeisances and I said, good day, he will immediately stop reading and hear what I have to say and answer fully until I've gotten everything that I asked and offer my obeisances. Then he goes back to reading. He always gave the mercy. There was never, I don't have much time now. Come later on, let's discuss it. No, he never did that. He always answered my questions right there and then. So I benefited tremendously from serving Bhakti Maharaj. They'll help you, but you have to be ready to free yourself, all of us, from the clutches of matter. And that is from serious, committed chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Serious, committed hearing. And then from there, all of the services. And we were saying the other day, the temple is the embassy, service at home is a concession, so that at least we can still remember Krishna. Service at the temple is the real, the service that we should go after. So again, we said it last time, but we'll repeat it. Get service. Involve yourself in service in the temple. If you're not near a temple, immediately where you live, you got to find the closest temple. And if it's a little like over an hour away, you should make it a point to visit on a regular basis what you can do on a regular basis. And when you go, make sure you serve. Don't just go to hear. Hearing is good. Chanting is good. Kirtan is good. But then you have to add more services to it too, the temple. Because Krishna watches everything we do. And we're going to be happier the more we serve. Don't offend anyone. Don't offend anyone. That one just railroads, just stops everything. You don't get anywhere if you're offensive, because we won't be allowed to go back. You can't go back to the spiritual world and be offensive there. So if you're offensive here to anyone, you're not allowed. If you're offensive to a devotee, that's Vaishnava Aparad. That's what it's called, Vaishnava Aparad. You can't go back to Godhead. Doesn't matter you're chanting and obeying regulated principles. If you offend devotees, you don't go back. Because you are sending the message to the spiritual world that when I come, if I'm allowed here, I will come cause trouble to those who are in the spiritual world. So then you don't get allowed to go. So Aparad have to stay away. Don't be offensive to non-devotees because it sabotages Krishna's program, Lord Chaitanya's program. If we're nice to non-devotees, that's when they'll be interested in getting to know what or how we live our lives. And that's an opportunity to preach to them, to get them interested in Krishna consciousness. But if you insult them and you shoo them away from that type of activity, why are they going to come around you? People don't hang around folks who are insulting them. They want to stay away from them. When they stay away from them, they automatically stay away from the movement, the Hare Krishna movement. So really, you can't offend anyone. You get angry, very angry, stop your words, physically move yourself from the situation. Get away before something comes out of your mouth that you would regret later. So yes, there is peace, but there's also the formula for it. And the Lord is the one that is the cause of all causes. Everything in the material and the spiritual world go on because of the Lord's energies and what he's allowed to. So we should dedicate ourselves fully to the Lord. Everything, so here's the conclusion. Everything can be traced back to the supreme cause, Sri Krishna. And all living entities have free will, but whatever they do, if it is not spiritual, we said it's controlled by the three modes of nature, which is from Lord Vishnu. So there's no getting anywhere around Krishna. You can't get around Krishna. The results of our activities are to be reaped accordingly. The results of our activities. The extent to which we surrender to the Lord, we will be rewarded accordingly. Material world will always challenge us with its dual nature, so never get comfortable here. There's nobody that doesn't go through trouble. Even the pure devotees, you see them go through difficulty. The Papa was gored by a bull. Literally, gored by a bull after he took sannyas. So, only when we desire to lead the material world, only when we desire to lead the material world because we're tired of the material world, does Krishna set the criterion for surrender. Then our minds are ready to take it, the process of surrender. And if we agree to surrender, then we get to go back home, back to Godhead. We have to agree to surrender to the Lord. Surrender means that you handle my life. Our prayers should be like that every morning. Lord, dear Guru, dear Gurudev, dear Krishna, let everything that happens today be according to what you want. Then that's full surrender. And that way, then life actually goes on nicely. Otherwise, we make our own decisions and who knows what's going to happen. Lord will leave us to make our own decisions and go bump our heads, and that won't help us. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. So, thank you for allowing me to do the service. This is the time. If the devotees have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Or if you have some takeaways that you want to share with everybody, you can do that also. Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna, my humble obeisances, all the Shri Prabhupada.
okay. Yeah, hang on.
Wait.
So after
Ananya,
you.
Ananya,
No,
go ahead. Go ahead, Ananya.
Okay.
Mataji, you can go ahead if you want.
So yeah, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Go ahead and share.
Very
Then
quick.
after that, Ananya. Yeah, I was
When
going to say.
you mentioned that when the world gets annihilated,
Mhm.
Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and they go back to the spiritual world.
The universe, when the universe gets annihilated. Mhm.
They go back to the spiritual world. Now,
Mhm.
we also know that the spiritual world makes up 3/4 of the whole, of the
Mhm.
whole planetary system. So
Of
which part
existence,
of,
yes.
yes. So when you mention spiritual world, are you talking about the Vaikuntha planets, or are you talking about about Goloka Vrindavan?
There is,
I'm just
there are,
curious, that's what
yeah, I
I'm asking.
know. But I'll just kind of tell you the short version of it, for what I remember about it, because I'm trying to think back on what Brihad Bhavatamita said about it. Mhm. Um, Lord Brahma, we will go back to the spiritual world. Lord Brahma has access to different planets in the spiritual world and also access to Goloka Vrindavan. Both. Mhm. Or the planets outside of Golok Vrindavan and planets and the Golok Vrindavan itself. And we put it that way because of what he has done. Sometimes he has been invited, and I can tell you just a short part of a pastime. So there was a pastime, this is Radha and Krishna. And in that pastime, they decided to get married. Now, Radha is talked to as regarded as the consort of Krishna, the premier girlfriend of Krishna, for lack of a better way to put it. But depending on activities that happen in the spiritual world, and everything is by the supreme will. So many things happen there. And I find myself having to be, my mind is speaking me to be a little careful what I say about the spiritual world, especially about Golok Vrindavan. But in this time, a wedding was planned for Radha and Krishna. And Lord Brahma of this particular universe was invited to officiate the wedding in Golok Vrindavan. And some of the prayers that he even said are prayers that are written in Garga Samhita. I myself, I've read the whole Garga Samhita, so I've come across that particular prayer. And the prayer gives prosperity. Sometimes I actually chant it myself. But it was at the wedding the Lord Brahma composed this prayer and said it. So from that standpoint, Lord Brahma, I mean, he's in touch with Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He has his planet. He's in touch with Mahavishnu. He has his planet in the spiritual world. And he also gets invited to go to the different things that happen to Golok Vrindavan. So where does he normally stay? I can't answer that question. It depends on what he's doing. For Lord Brahma especially.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Ananya Mataji?
Hare
Please go
Krishna
ahead.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Accept my humble obeisances, all glories to
Step
Sri
one, go share
Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Could you please explain the three forms of Vishnu and how are they interconnected? Because it's always confusing to me, like who is the super
Okay.
soul, who is the sustainer of the universe, and so on.
Yeah. So yeah, there are three forms of Vishnu. Their names are Karanodakshaya Vishnu, also called Mahavishnu. Then there's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then there's Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So here's the order. Mahavishnu, or Karanodakshaya Vishnu, that is the first Vishnu when it comes to the Lord expanding. The first Vishnu is Karanodakshaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu. That's the Vishnu through whose pores that the universes for the material world come to be. When he breathes out, the universes come from his pores. Universes, so you can imagine how gigantic he is. Now, then this Mahavishnu expands to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That's the Vishnu that's responsible for every single universe. So there are as many Garbhodakshaya Vishnus as there are universes in the material world. Each one of them has one Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the one who actually gave birth to, from the lotus stem, Brahma, and also taught Brahma how to create planets and so on within the universe. The part of the declaration of maybe other things that were put in each planet. So each universe. Lord Brahma creates planets and so on, fashioning what's in each universe. That is from the help of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu then expands to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the super soul, present in all living entities and also present in every single atom. So he's the one, when people say, especially people who are religionists, they say, oh, we heard God is everywhere. So because the super soul is in every single atom and also in every heart of every living entity. So the first is Mahavishnu, or Karanodakshai Vishnu. That's through whom the universe has come to be. He also establishes time, by the way. Material time is from Mahavishnu. And then he expands to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is going to be, that is one Garbhodakshaya Vishnu per universe. So the Lord Mahavishnu, one Mahavishnu expands to many Garbhodakshaya Vishnus as there are material universes. And Lord Brahma for each universe comes from this Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. I'm sorry, mixing the words up. Mahavishnu creates universes and then expands into as many Garbhodakshaya Vishnus as there are universes, one per universe. And that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu coaches, for lack of a better word, Brahma to make planets in each universe and all the things that are in each planet and the demigods. And then the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu for each planet expands to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And he's present everywhere. Everywhere. In every atom and also in all living entities. So those are the three. Hare Krishna. So hopefully that's satisfactory to you, Ananya Matani.
Yes, Prabhuji. The other question was like, then which Vishnu form takes the avatars, like the 10 avatars or 24 avatars that is spoken in Bhagavatam?
The other avatars come from Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So there's Mahavishnu, then he expands to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, many Garbhodakshaya Vishnus as they are universes, one per universe. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And these other that you're talking about is the work of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Leela avatars, and they all come from Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And he also is a super soul, and he also is the one in every single atom. So he's all spread out quite a bit in the whole universe.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Any other question? Okay. So we'll stop here then. Thank you for coming. This is the weekend. Hopefully on Sunday, to the nearest temple, please go associate with devotees. And we know that we achieve peace based on what we've described here, that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Don't let anybody tell you. My bodies are very busy now using YouTube and everything to tell people putting Lord Shiva in front of Lord Vishnu, and it's not true. Lord Shiva is dependent on Lord Vishnu, who is dependent on Lord Krishna. Krishna is supreme, like that. So we don't get our minds railroaded or taken into a different way of looking at the way things are. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhischa kripa sunnivi chapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishyavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai.